Gottlieb was an American arcade game corporation based in Chicago, Illinois. Like many other manufacturers, Gottlieb first made mechanical pinball machines, including the first successful coin-operated pinball machine, Baffle Ball, in 1930. The 1947 development of player-actuated, solenoid-driven 2-inch bats called flippers revolutionized the industry. Players now had the ability to shoot the ball back up the playfield and get more points. The flippers first appeared on a Gottlieb game called Humpty Dumpty, designed by Harry Mabs. The company was established by David Gottlieb in 1927, initially producing pinball machines while later expanding into various other games, including pitch and bats, bowling games, and eventually video arcade games, notably Reactor, the music you're hearing, and Qbert. By the 1970s, the company had begun designing their games with longer 3-inch flippers, now the industry standard. Gottlieb was bought by Columbia Pictures in 1976, and in 1983, after the Coca-Cola Company had acquired Columbia, Gottlieb was renamed Milstar Electronics, or Milestar, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But this proved to be short-lived. By 1984, the video game industry in North America was in the middle of a shakeout, and Columbia closed down Milstar at the end of September 1984. A management group led by Gilbert G. Pollock purchased Milstar's pinball assets in October 1984 and continued the manufacture of pinball machines under a new company name, Premier Technology. As a result of this, a number of prototype Milstar arcade games, which were not purchased by the investors, were never released. Premier did go on to produce one last arcade game, 1989's Exterminator. Premier Technology, which returned to selling pinball machines under the name Gottlieb after the purchase, continued in operation until the summer of 1996, when the declining demand for pinball machines forced the company to cease business. Premier did not file for bankruptcy, but sold off all its assets for the benefit of its creditors. Gottlieb's most popular pinball machine was Baffle Ball, released mid-1931, and their final machine was Barb Wire, early 1996, based on the Pamela Anderson movie Barb Wire. This brings us to the early 90s and John Norris, a pinball designer with Gottlieb. From his blog, back in the early 90s, I had just completed the full-size pinball Super Mario Bros. And was told that the Nintendo license for that game and the smaller redemption game Mario Mushroom World that Ray Tanzer designed also included one more game. I was asked to choose from Nintendo's library and chose The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past as my next design. Our management agreed and let me begin on the project. I spent many hours playing the video game on the Nintendo console and began to create a playfield and game rules for this theme. I was really excited and enthusiastic about making a great pinball game and put a lot of time and effort into the design. I was several weeks into the project. Having completed the playfield layout and game rules, it was time to bring in the development team and take things to the next step. Then suddenly, management called a meeting to inform us that they had just secured a new license for a new TV show, American Gladiators. The problem was that this license had a short time window, and we had to come out with the game soon. The decision by management was made to change Zelda to American Gladiators. I modified the game rules and kept the same playfield layout. Then, about 7 or 8 weeks into that project, another meeting was called, and we were told that the American Gladiators license had fallen through and we needed to change the theme again. But we only had 4 weeks until the game was going into production. It was way too late to change the game back to Zelda, and we decided to keep the exact same game rules and change the art to Gladiators. Gladiators is the game that should have been The Legend of Zelda. Maybe someday I'll finally be able to design that pinball machine. The first time I went to Southern Fried Game Room Expo in 2017, I saw this machine. The Legend of Zelda by Gottlieb? I had never heard of such a thing. I couldn't believe it existed, but what stood before me was just a white wood table with a couple little descriptions of what was going on and a brief synopsis of the story of what it was. This was a game, an original Gladiators machine, being rethemed back into The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past by a gentleman named Wilder Ham, who owns a store in Charlotte, North Carolina called Save Point Video Games. He got himself a Gladiators table, stripped all the artwork, ripped out the code, and has begun to make his own A Link to the Past Legend of Zelda pinball machine. I got in touch with him through Facebook and we had a short discussion about the machine and what he's doing with it. He is 90% away from having the code completed and plans to reveal the finished game at the Southern Fried Game Room Expo 2019 this freaking year, and I cannot wait. During our talk, I asked if I could drive up to Charlotte, bring my camera, do a little bit of investigating and interview him and shoot the machine and play it and get a little bit more facts on it, and he said he would like to get a little further along before doing the interview about it at the Southern Fried Game Room Expo should hopefully be the grand reveal. Last year, it worked, but the power cord got yanked out upon install and he couldn't get it fixed where it was positioned. This year, he hopes to be in his own little booth area with other homebrewed pins from Fast Pinball, FAST. I believe that is the program he's using to develop the software and the brains for it. Last year, apparently only one mode functioned. Again, I never saw it up and running. I wasn't able to play it. I was just gawking at it from afar. When I asked about the artwork he intends to use, he said he wanted a mix of 90s pinball art mixed with concept art from the original game. He has been in touch with Norris, the original designer. All things are looking up. I hope he ends up making the coolest Legend of Zelda table on the planet. If you're familiar with the Super Nintendo title, he intends to walk through the game in 6 modes. Mode 1, rescue Princess Zelda from Hyrule Castle, a 2-ball multi-ball. Mode 2, Light World, collect the 3 pendants. Mode 3, the Lost Woods, where there will be hidden shots. Mode 4, battle against Aghanim. Mode 5, the Dark World, and Mode 6, the final battle. He also said he is sure at some point in the next couple months he will have 90% of the coding done and make a Twitch-style playthrough of it so everyone can get an idea of what he's made. I cannot wait to watch that. Do yourself a favor and check out Wilderham's Instagram page, SavePointVG. He posts a lot of pictures of his progress there and little videos of him testing out different features, like this ball eject in slow-mo and super sexy red. Actually, the red was caused by me ripping the footage and it just came in red and I thought it looked cool, so I left it that way. You're welcome. Thank you guys so much for watching the CaptNRetro Show and Lost Pins Episode 3. Be sure to check in next week for Lost Pins Episode 4. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me how awesome this machine would be if it was in your living room right now. I want to know that in the comments. Tell me how awesome it would be. Captain!
CaptNRetro, it's the CaptNRetro Show!